might become a new segment of news coming out, as I was blindsided by this. Maybe lots of people knew this was coming, but last night I saw on social media a new Twitter account for something called the USFL. You might remember this from the mid 80s, and people in Michigan certainly do, as the Michigan Panthers were the very first champion of the USFL in 1983. The USFL is returning spring of 2022. So this spring, there's gonna be a new football league, and we've had a lot of these over the last few years. We've had I don't know, is it the AFL or different ones that have come and gone and failed, and usually because they have poor TV contracts, or they can't get big TV dollars to support them for much longer than a year. Oh, the XFL was another one that's coming back, and that was scuttled by COVID. I think that's still in the works. Vince McMahon's entry into professional football, but the USFL has a real shot to actually work for a couple of reasons. First of all, everyone's, at least any football fan that's over 30 years old, probably knows about the USFL at least. So it has some brand cachet there. It failed back in the 80s because Donald Trump was running the show at the time, which he's failed at many things. He decided USFL, a spring league, which was doing quite well, should go up against the NFL in the fall and be direct competition, which was the dumbest fucking thing he could have done, as the league no longer exists until last night. The USFL is returning, like I said, spring of 2022. There's going to be 8 teams. They have not announced who those teams are. They did announce that those games will all be played in one site. There's not like road games or multiple cities at this point. There's just going to be 8 franchises playing each other this first year. But in the second year, there'll be multiple. They'll have hometowns, home cities for each of these teams. So the real reason this is going to work, though, Fox owns the USFL. Fox is the broadcaster of the USFL. They own it. So they have a vested interest in making this work. And I think this is the strongest business plan of any of these new little leagues that have been propping up. So they, like I said, it'll be in the spring. So people are dying for pro football probably at that point. They're not going up against the NFL, which would be the dumbest thing you could possibly do. I think it's mid-April through mid-June is when it's going to be played. So it's kind of a soft spot in the professional or in the sports calendar. You just have baseball going on. It's after March Madness. So it seems to be positioned well. One thing that might pique your interest is the executive vice president of football operations for the USFL is none other than Darryl Moose Johnston, former Cowboy there.
Yeah, the good old Darryl Johnston.
The last time I heard, he's like a color commentary guy for Fox.
Still is, yeah.
He still is. So, okay, so he's taken on 2 jobs, or maybe he's not going to be a commentator anymore. It's hard to say. But I thought you might be interested in that. So I'm just excited for the USFL's return as the only professional franchise in the state of Michigan that has any bit of respect was the Michigan Panthers. I've been a huge fan since I was 10 years old. I have Michigan Panthers regalia that I'll be featuring on this podcast. It'll give us possibly a reason to fire up this podcast again in the spring after football season is typically over. The Limp Ditkas can return with our annual draft coverage, but also covering the USFL.
Wow,
potentially
exciting. I mean, I do wonder though. I wonder what this does to backups in the NFL. I mean,
yeah.
Did you read like any real details about it?
No, I just had the bullet points, the basic stuff. There will be more stuff, and I don't think they've released a whole lot yet. There will be more stuff that gets fleshed out over the winter. But
I wonder how this is going to affect the NFL, and it definitely will.
It had an effect, back in the 80s. Yeah. They were starting to sign. They had enough money to sign huge players like Jim Kelly.
I remember
Walker
Jim
was
Kelly.
with the New Jersey Generals.
Yep.
They made a splash, and they were working until Trump ran it into the ground. But that's neither here nor there.